Hi, good-looking people. Brett here, just dropping in to let you know briefly before the episode starts that we recorded this months ago. And in all that time, this sat on my hard drive. There's something funky going on with Tyler's audio. I ran it through a few filters and processors and tweaked it, and I think there's just something rubbing up against his mic. And so I apologize. I cleaned it up a lot. There's just something rubbing there that I can't really get rid of, so I apologize in advance. Hope it doesn't detract from your enjoyment. So thanks for listening. Enjoy.
Welcome back to a special edition of Extra Credit with Dads Meet World. If you're listening to this, then hopefully that means you've already listened to part 1 and part 2 of our special episodes on Justice League Snyder Cut. Brett, it's been a little bit since you and I recorded the initial 2. So since then, has your opinion on the Snyder Cut changed at all?
It has not. I am still a huge fan. Still wish that that Warner Brothers would have allowed Snyder to continue his vision. Believe since we recorded initially, SnyderCon happened, where he dropped some nuggets about what his continuing vision would have been for the rest of the Snyderverse. And you know what? I wish we could have seen it all on screen.
Yeah, I mean, the sad truth is that I think Snyder is such he's a visionary in a way that we don't always see in filmmakers. Like, he has an image in his head of what he wants people to see, and that's what he puts on screen. And I think that upsets people because either you love exactly what he's putting on screen or you're like, this is garbage. And there's no in between with him. Like, with every movie that's come out that he's done, people either go, this is one of the greatest movies ever. Like 300 came out and everyone's like, oh my gosh, I got to see more movies of him. And The Watchmen came out and people are like, this doesn't seem right. This isn't a good superhero movie. Who would go see this? Now the extended cut came out. You're like, oh my gosh, what a great movie. Why wasn't all this stuff in the original movie?
Because you should always you should allow advanced screenings and testings to guide what the filmmakers put out for you.
Well, I mean, he may be one of the few like true like directors who is an artist. You know, he has his canvas. The canvas is the movie. Right or wrong, he puts on the screen what he wants to put on, and there's a beauty to it no matter what. You know, regardless of what you think about most of his movies, there is beauty in each of the scenes, each of the slow-mo shots. You know, like there's something beautiful happening.
Oh yeah, I mean even Steam, just the one that he shot on an iPhone, just like 3 or 4 other people. I mean, even that, it's just a very simple story, but it's a story he wanted to tell. I mean, you can tell just by the photography that he puts out on Vero. He has a cinematographer's eye and a cinematographer's soul. He has a very distinct vision of the world that he sees around him that he wants to share. And typically people who want to share their vision of the world when it's distinct from what the rest of the world sees, they tend to get words like crazy or eccentric thrown at them, and not typically in good ways.
Yeah, so here's what we're going to do, people. Or good-looking people, sorry. Still our Boy Meets World podcast, even though we're talking about superheroes. We're going to finish up the Snyder Cut. Yes, we're still having to finish up talking about the Snyder Cut because they decided that they had to correct the end credits scene that was hyped up in the original Justice League movie. And then there is 2 scenes after that we're going to briefly discuss. And then we're going to get into our thoughts as DC as a whole at this point, what's going on, what's been happening. We can talk a little bit about the movies that we've seen, but we're not going to spend too much time in each of those things. We just want to get our general thoughts, general feelings, all that stuff, and just wrap up this 3-part endeavor that Brett and I had discussed, weeks and months ago of wanting to do. And maybe there could be a part 4 if there are some people that are like, hey, let's pick Tyler and Brett's DC brains. What do you guys think about this? Or, what's the feeling on some of this stuff? So I'm definitely open to that. If people actually want to hear more of our opinions on this, I don't know, but let's just get into the rest of the Snyder Cut, Brett.
All right. There's a couple of Snyder bros.
Yes. I wouldn't consider myself a Snyder bro. I'm just a DC fan.
Oh, the fact that we're talking about him, well, the people are going to call us that anyway. Let's lean into it.
Probably. So anywho, seconds after the Superman shield is revealed, we get an alarm and we are in Arkham Asylum because there's no other prisons that anyone ever wants to have in the world of DC movies, even though there are plenty of other prisons, and Luthor should not be in Arkham. That's a whole nother story for a different day. So we have a security guard saying, Luthor, come on out. He doesn't come out. They get closer. We realize it's not Lex Luthor. Nothing has changed from the theatrical cut. It's literally the same exact setup. We go to a boat shot of Deathstroke, one of the great Batman villains that has never really gotten the big screen treatment. He's been on 2 different DC TV shows, and each time have been great. But actually going head to head with Batman, we've never seen. Although probably the best version of him put to screen in any screens would be Slade from Teen Titans.
Agreed. Yeah, although to be fair, we have to go back. There is justification for Luthor being in Arkham. If you go back to Batman v Superman, I don't remember if it's in the theatrical cut or the ultimate cut, but he's in Arkham as a kind of big middle finger from Batman. He pulled strings to put him in there as kind of a way to put him where he really should be amongst the real, we'll call it, Luthor has this, Luthor's a hoity-toity, I'm better than everyone else, I'm the smartest guy in the room. So Batman saw fit to pull strings and put him in with the criminally insane.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree that this Luthor is insane.
Oh, totally. Especially after encountering Steppenwolf.
Yeah, no, he would sound insane as well, which he did.
The bells.
Yes. But we get a shot of Deathstroke hopping on to Lex Luthor's yacht, and the 2 of them having just a small conversation. Basically them exchanging bars for just a few seconds. And in the original one released in Justice League, it was like, basically like, what do you think about forming a coalition, a Injustice League? And there are multiple different league of supervillains that come together to try to take down the Justice League. They're never successful, and so that's what they were, quote unquote, trying to set up before, which would have been cool. A Justice League versus Injustice League. What a concept. That's a movie I would have gone to see. However, we never got it because it was never on the slate docket, and so it didn't come up. But in this go around, they reveal who Batman may or may not be.
Oh, he flat out tells Slade that Batman is Bruce Wayne.
Yes. Sorry, I was trying to remember. We didn't watch this right before we recorded this. So, yes, Lex Luthor straight up says it's Bruce Wayne because he has known this whole time who he is. Which now begs the question, did Batman and Bruce Wayne pull strings? Because that would be baller.
Oh, I'm sure Bruce... in many iterations of Batman's comic and even animated history, he sits on the board of directors for Arkham. He has ties to it, so I am sure both of them pulled strings.
So he reveals that Deathstroke is quite pleased with that, and then we cut to a wasteland, if you will, and we see the dream version of Batman that we originally saw in Batman v Superman, where he's got the trench coat on, but he's got the cowl on.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say, I love the Nightmare Batman.
Yeah, me too.
That's pretty sweet.
And we have Cyborg, and he's got some more gear. He's got some he's almost got some stuff almost looks like to hide some of his shininess.
Mm-hmm.
But he hops out. We have Mara hopping out. And she's got a really baller trident. It looks similar to Arthur Curry's trident from the Aquaman movie.
Mm-hmm.
We see Deathstroke. And then we hear a laugh, Brett.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the infamous Joker scene that was widely reported on of Jared Leto going back to play the Joker one last time.
Yep.
And seeing what Snyder would do with him. And can I just say, and again, I get what this is going to make it sound like for me, but I could go for a whole movie with this Joker, with this Batman, and seeing the dynamic with the two of them, this yin and yang. And this just feels so different and so unique than any other version of the Batman and Joker.
This is a much darker connection between the two, a much more visceral connection. I mean, the only time we see this type of a connection before is in The Dark Knight, and even that doesn't, because there you're just meeting the two. They're just getting to know each other. Here you've got years upon years of connection, and we know that the Joker killed Robin in this reality. And I was not a big fan of Leto as Joker in Suicide Squad. It didn't work for me. It wasn't the worst Joker I've seen, but it was far from the best. It just didn't work for me. It worked within the scheme of what they were going for the movie, but I didn't like it. But here, what Snyder's able to do in this realm, I'm with you. I could go for this type of a dynamic. It works.
The problem with the original Suicide Squad is too many hands were in that movie.
Yeah.
Both in the character realm, in who had say in what of writing and directing, evidently, editing the movie. And you can't, we can talk about the Suicide Squad crazily at some point, but it feels like the character that we meet in this scene is the one that they originally, when Ayers and whoever his writer was and Snyder sat down to figure out what this world is and who is this Joker, this is who they all agreed was going to be. And for some reason, when they tried to do that in the Suicide Squad movie, it just didn't happen, you know? Because, I mean, in that movie, I always got the feeling like this is just a Joker who can't be touched. No one can touch him. And at points, even Batman. And Batman avoids almost dealing with the Joker. As long as Joker isn't killing people, as long as he's not, holding Gotham ransom, Batman just leaves him be.
Yeah, and this Joker has one thing that he needs from him. He knows where the kryptonite is to take care of Superman. That's really the only thing that's keeping him from keeping his promise he made to Harley to kill him finally.
Yeah, and I like that they have in there that apparently Harley Quinn had passed in this world and that she has a vendetta against the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
So there's depth to this whole scene, this whole situation that tells that there was a really cool story that happened along the way that we just don't get to see.
I know this one conversation shows an entire story line of that just, this one conversation is just so rich of so much that we'll never get to see. And I don't want to use the word too grandly, but I mourn that. Yeah, I wanted to see that.
Yeah. So yeah, they agree to a truce. And thus he says, as long as you're holding this card, I know we have a truce. The moment you break it, our truce is gone. Mm-hmm. Which is why, apparently, when you see him in the dream sequence later on, when they're about to get the kryptonite, quote unquote, and it's just a green light, you see a Joker card on the gun, mm-hmm. which is interesting.
Yeah.
Depth to a movie that had already been here.
Yep.
It's almost like it's a continuing story, Brett.
I know. Gee, it's almost as if the director knew what he was doing.
Yeah. So then Deathstroke tries to say, like, well, do you think we can trust him? He's just like, doesn't matter. I don't care. We have no choice. Mm-hmm. And I like how we went from one scene at Deathstroke being like, it's personal with me and Batman. It's personal. And in this world, Deathstroke and him are almost these reluctant best friends. Like, mm-hmm. we're just two men who have skills, and we got to figure out how to bring down this god.
The enemy of my enemy.
Yeah. And then we see that Barry Allen is getting ready to hopefully do a jump. And Cyborg alerts them that he is here, and that he is the man in blue. Mm-hmm. Superman.
Yep.
And I like that he is in the blue suit, indicating that the dream that he had once upon a time is literally this other world where Superman loses Lois Lane, as we talked about before, mm-hmm. and kind of goes crazy and puts his trust and faith in Darkseid and literally destroys the world. Mm-hmm. That's the 1% chance.
Yes, even if it's that infinitesimal chance, we need to I can't get all the words strung together exactly right, but even if it's only a 1% chance, we need to take that as an absolute, Alfred.
Yep. But again, it's just a dream. Mm-hmm. Bruce Wayne wakes up looking a little bit more like Ben Affleck than he has in the past. And walks outside, and we meet a character who's only been seen in a few TV shows and in the comics, known as Martian Manhunter, who we met earlier in the movie, although no one knew who he was. And now he's revealing himself to Batman, saying, I saw what you guys did. I just want you to know that more is coming, and when it does, I'm with you. Mm-hmm. And I'm amazed he didn't say, you sound like that one senator or the one secretary.
Yeah. Almost makes you wonder if Bruce had his suspicions that he already had confirmed there.
Yeah. And he starts to fly off, and he says, oh, I guess I'll see you around.
Yep. And there's the 7th.
And then we see just a small on a black screen with white letters saying, in honor of Amanda. Mm-hmm. It's still a tragedy that the Snyder family lost a daughter and a sister. Yeah. And it makes me sad because you see that this industry, the superhero and movie industry, doesn't care about your personal tragedies. What they care about is the release date. And mm-hmm. can you make that date? And if they could have delayed it a little bit, given him time to be with his family and to grieve, who knows what it could have been.
Yeah, I mean, it's never going to change, but it really is sad that it's driven by the dollar signs. And it is a business, yes. But it would have been an amazing thing if Warner Brothers could have said, you know what? Yes. This would not be the first movie that was delayed. It's not going to be the last one that's delayed. It's a tentpole, yes, but I mean, from my perspective, I think Scott being able to finish the project, and Scott took no money from this. But I mean, any money that was given for this went to those who worked on it. Scott pocketed no money for this at all.
You mean Snyder?
Yeah.
Okay, you got to Scott.
Yeah, sorry, Zack Snyder. I'm thinking of Scott Snyder for some reason. I'm a little tired, I think. Sorry, Zack Snyder.
I was just very confused.
If I turn around and look, I've got an omnibus or two for Scott Snyder's Batman work. Zack Snyder. Zack pocketed no money at all for this. So, I mean, I think from my perspective, him being able to finish the project and to get it out there, something that he had to step away from because Amanda had taken her own life. Being able to finish it and put it out there as a vision of hope is a very fitting tribute to her and to her life and to what she struggled with and what she went through.
Yeah, I agree. So with all that said, Brett, I think you and I can both agree, because as we stated before, this movie is by far the best thing that DC has put out in years. Arguably, since The Dark Knight, those are the most comparable things that we can put to this.
Yes. And I will say, when people want to complain and compare it to Marvel and Feige, it's really just apples and oranges, or apples and car tires, because Feige set out with, Feige had a shared universe in his back pocket if Iron Man succeeded.
Right.
And Iron Man succeeded, so he was able to go ahead with his plan. Snyder came in with a 5-movie story with a very clearly defined ending in mind, and Warner Brothers greenlit it. Warner Brothers was not greenlighting a shared universe that was going to expand like the Marvel Universe did. Warner Brothers greenlit a 5-movie deal that was going to have a clear beginning, middle, and end. So you really cannot compare the two. They weren't creating the same thing. And so anyone who wants to compare the two is just, you're shooting yourself in the foot for your argument, no matter which side you're on.
Yeah, I agree. And again, these are business decisions that are made.
Yep.
And since the release of Man of Steel, how many times have you heard in the news, great news, we have a new person overseeing the DCEU. They have this new plan for the thing, and it's going to be great. And we can't wait to see what this guy's going to do.
And we've got a new Superman now.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this time period, Brett, from Man of Steel till Blue Beetle. So roughly 10 years of movies. Okay. So Man of Steel, first movie with Zack Snyder. This is the launch of the franchise, the series, and after it came out, everyone said, dude, let's get another one of these things. And some people, this is the first time I really noticed the difference between DC and Marvel people, because all of my Marvel friends said, that movie was boring. I'm like, what do you mean it was boring? Like, this movie is compelling. Like,
there weren't enough jokes.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, that's the thing, is that this movie had humor, and there was things that were funny, but on the same token, it was a drama.
Yeah.
It was a Shakespearean drama.
Yeah.
With superheroes.
Yeah, it was different. It wasn't supposed to be the Marvel formula.
Right. Well, and then Batman v Superman came out, and when they announced at Comic-Con in 2014, everyone lost their flipping minds, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, yes! I watched the internet explode, Brett. They were excited and happy.
Yes, I did too.
There are people that said, well, there really should be a Man of Steel 2, but this is cool that Batman and Superman will be in the same movie. And then we announced Ben Affleck is Batman. And everyone said, Ben Affleck is Batman? That's ridiculous.
You mean Daredevil's going to be Batman?
Right. So every step of the way, it's felt like no matter what DC did, people just did not want, they didn't want to succeed. And so we get to Suicide Squad, and Suicide Squad, the theatrical cut's not bad. We get that there's an Ares cut out there somewhere, but overall the story is not bad. It's not a bad movie, although it came out and people said, this movie is garbage.
Yeah, I will say the extended cut fixes some of the problems with just the straight theatrical cut, but I'm still waiting for that Ayers cut.
What, Harley Quinn shoots a guy in the head. He goes, well, I guess you just shoot him in the head. Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's not as bad as it deserves some of the hate it gets, but it doesn't deserve anywhere near all the hate that it gets. There's still a lot of good in there, but it did flop.
Yeah. Wonder Woman comes out, and arguably
Wonder Woman was great.
Even the critics that had all sorts of bad things to said this is a great movie up until the end.
Yeah, Wonder Woman was the only casting for the Trinity that I was hesitant on at first. I was sold on Cavill as Superman. I was on board with Batfleck from day one. I was not sure about Gal Gadot at first, but
it's because you didn't watch Fast and Furious movies. That's why.
No, I don't think I've seen one of them after the first one. I think I've seen the first one and that's it.
Probably.
But I was impressed in Batman v Superman, and I was completely sold after her solo movie.
And then, of course, before even Wonder Woman comes out, we have a situation where Snyder steps away, and again, nothing but sadness and appreciation for that family. And Joss Whedon steps in to do Justice League, and everyone thought, hey, good news. Hopefully he can finish the project and it can look good. And this is the point, similar to the problems with Suicide Squad, where too many hands are in all of this. And we talked about it before, but it's a jumbled mess. And the movie itself, when it came out, was not bad. And I even said, yeah, I liked it. But probably the most indifferent I was. Like, I was happy they were all together, but it wasn't a blockbuster moment for me like I hoped it would be.
Yeah, I mean, it was good, but there were some pretty obvious issues with it, and it was pretty obviously a Joss Whedon movie. There were some very stark differences from what was Snyder's story and what was Joss's story.
Okay, for the original Avengers movie and Justice League, they're almost the same movie. Like the bare bones basics
all
of
the
it
major
is
beats are there.
Yeah, the main heroes are fighting. There's a disagreement on who's in charge, who's the leader, who's does what.
They go their separate ways. They come back together. They get united. Boom.
Right.
Day saved.
Yeah, all that's not there.
Oh, and yeah, one guy buries his face in a woman's chest. There we go.
Yes. Which almost got Gal Gadot blacklisted.
Yeah, because she didn't want to do it. They had to use her body double for it.
Yeah.
Because she wouldn't do it.
Yeah. And then, for lack of a better wording, Brett, then we had the Me Too movement.
Yeah. And Joss Whedon was among the villains for that. So.
Yeah. But more importantly, Aquaman came out, and Aquaman was great.
Aquaman was huge. Who would have figured Aquaman was going to lead a multi-$100 million movie?
Yeah. I mean, it was a good follow-up to Justice League. It continued the story in a direction that we could all fit in with. But also the story as a whole, this story could be told either going through the Snyder Cut lens or the original Justice League lens. Both of them fit, other than a British accent.
There you go.
But then we had Shazam. Shazam, again, solid movie. It was one of the most childlike movies, and I wish Barry Allen would have been younger and not a teenager.
Billy Batson.
Billy Batson, yes. I wish Billy Batson, the character, would have been younger.
He was
the actor did great.
Shade. Oh yeah, Angel did great, and Zachary Levi as Shazam was fantastic.
Right, but it's just you didn't believe they were the same person.
Mm.
Yeah, but Shazam, it was solid. Joker doesn't count. Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey continues the Harley Quinn storyline. It was a movie that came out right before the pandemic hit. Went to the movie theater. I really liked it.
Enjoyable movie. Character assassination for half of the female characters in there. That's not Cassandra Cain. The comic geek in me looks at, I mean, there's strong female characters on screen. Yes. That's not the characters they're supposed to be. I'm okay with changing some things around. Some of those changes were just too much. Especially Cassandra Cain. Cassandra Cain is not supposed to be some untalented pickpocket.
I understand that. But that jail fight scene is by far...
Oh, fantastic.
It is probably the best overall fight scene in the entire DCEU. And I'd argue it against a lot of the fight scenes in most Marvel movies.
I'd put it up there.
Like, I'm thinking like elevator fight in Winter Soldier, prison fight with Harley Quinn. Those two are like the S tier of fight scenes because they actually are a fight. It's not just bam. It's actual hand to hand, fist to fist, feet to,
It's
real
brutal.
Baller fight.
Mm-hmm.
I have to watch that.
It
actually
has weight to it.
Yeah,
has real weight to it.
Wonder Woman 48, not as good as you would hope it would be, but also this is probably where we started having that, well, what is this world and what are we trying to do here? But the overall like story, like the overall like point to it, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is not the woman yet who has been in Justice League.
Yeah, I mean, she's still, this is, 20 years before where we are with the rest of the movies. This is still coming along. I mean, not as good as the first Wonder Woman, but they still could use a unifying vision if they want to build a shared universe, but still.
The Suicide Squad came out with James Gunn.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is a good movie. It's a halfway decent follow-up to the original Suicide. It's Suicide Squad. It's basically a part 2. Mm-hmm. It's not a bad movie. There's a lot of fun jokes. King Shark is probably one of my top 5 favorite characters in all of DC.
Just the fact that it's Sylvester Stallone is even better.
Name it. Were you trying to eat me? Yes, I'm hungry.
There's so many great.
You don't
characters.
Eat friends.
So
I don't
many
have
great
friends.
So many great characters and character moments in that, and just I love the movie. I need to go watch it again this week.
Yeah, this is also one of the first times that John Cena was a real action hero, and you're like, yes, more of him, please.
Yeah. Peacemaker came out pretty good in that one.
Yeah. I gotta say, one of my favorite lines of that movie is, what are you doing? Oh, what are you guys doing? We're here to rescue you. Oh, you guys came to rescue me? Yeah, we had a plan and everything. It was a really good one. Do you want me to go back inside?
Yep.
Of course, we have the Batman came out. I don't want to talk about that movie because I have plenty of thoughts of that. We don't have time to say in the next 5 seconds.
Not the same universe anyway.
Yeah, DC, I will say, DC Super Pets is hilarious and a great family movie. I highly recommend it. Keanu Reeves is Batman. I like it. I want him in real life. Black Adam is actually a solid movie, and I'm really disappointed that it's been buried. Yeah. Let's go through this quick, Brett, because my main complaints with the DCEU is the same for the next 4 movies, because Black Adam, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, even The Flash, and Blue Beetle all fall in this reign of this doesn't impact the future, and why should we care? Mm-hmm. I've seen 3 of these movies. All 3 of them are solid. Are they perfect movies? No. Are they enjoyable? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've seen all of those except for Blue Beetle, and they're all.
I think you'd like it.
Yeah, I'm sure I would. I just haven't been able to yet. They are all enjoyable. They're solid popcorn movies, solid superhero movies. They all tell a very enjoyable story. They have believable characters. But if they're part of a shared universe, that universe is no future. And honestly, honestly, people, stop complaining about the CGI in The Flash. It's a stylistic choice. And the heart of that movie is got, that movie's got the emotional weight of the heart of that movie between Barry and his mom. Set aside the actor's real life problems. What you see on the screen, I will give you that. Outside of 2 or 3 Marvel movies, that is going to give you tears more than anything than maybe 2 or 3 Marvel movies when it comes to a superhero movie. Plus, you get Michael Keaton as Batman again. I mean, come on.
I just want you to know I've not actually watched it yet.
That's why I'm trying to not get too many details.
I figure I've seen little bits and clips online because, you know, we live in a society that has to ruin everything.
You know, it's on Max, right?
I know. It's an emotional thing for me, man.
I know.
I watched the scene with Batman, and then I watched where he was about to go into the past, and I just haven't watched more there. I need to. It's just when you work 3 jobs and you're also trying to do a podcast, there is a whole lot of not time.
Yes, I understand. But yes, I agree with you. Those 4 movies, they're good, solid movies. I mean, I wouldn't put them in an S tier. They don't redefine the genre or anything, but they're not bad movies by any stretch.
No.
They are enjoyable.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, if we knew that there was going to be more with The Rock and DCU, I think more people would have shown up to it. But also, they were just dumped. Like, there's no way else around it. Things were just dumped out, and that's all it was. And also, what the studio has done is minimize the true impact of the Snyder Cut, which was a unifying and a breath of fresh air for all DC fans. And they've minimized it to a point that we all go, well, if you're going to minimize that, this thing we all wanted, this thing that means so much to us, why should we care about the next thing you're putting out?
Mm-hmm. And honestly, I think The Rock kind of had a little more to do with Black Adam suffering because he was marketing himself as being the new center of power for the DCEU.
Yeah,
but
part of that was an issue. Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, you're right. If Warner Brothers is willing to say, yeah, fine, you got this, let's go away. You've got your candy, let's move on. Then, you know, people are just going to not care. So, and now we arrive at a time where we've got James Gunn is going to start building the blocks on the ashes of what came before.
Yeah. But imagine if the MCU wrapped itself up essentially after the first Avengers movie. And instead of having Thor 2, Iron Man 3, Captain America 2, it was all brand new heroes right afterwards. Like, none of that would fit. Where it fits is after Age of Ultron. Now it makes sense to have a bunch of extra stories because you have the main core of the team going in a particular direction. Now it's time to build up that team. So that's fine. But again, as you stated at the beginning, Warner Brothers signed up for a 5-picture deal with Snyder, a 5-picture vision, a start and end to a story. But along the way, they saw what the MCU did for Disney and said, we want that.
Yeah.
Not realizing that all they're doing is hurting themselves.
Yep. About that money. Make that cash.
Well, and also I'll say this, and you and I have had all of the versions of this now, of the DC Universe app, HBO Max, now Max. You know, they keep changing all these things up, and over there at Disney, it's always been Disney Plus, although it should be Disney Vault. It really should, but not the point. But they, for whatever reason, HBO or not HBO, Warner Brothers just can't get it together
They can't.
for what it is they actually want out of their movies.
Yeah, they need to settle in on a path and leave it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. Here's the problem for both you and I, and for most of our listeners, especially if you're a fan of DCU. When there's a Batman movie coming out, we're gonna go watch it. When there's a hero that we have an emotional connection to is the new, and we watch the trailer, and it gives us a little bit of hope, a little bit of we're gonna end up consuming it. Yeah, we will be there. We're the type of people who will be through all the different Batmans, all the different Supermans, like whatever you put out, we'll see it. Maybe not immediately. Eventually we'll get there.
We will.
Yeah.
Yes, we will.
So at some point, Brett, I think we're going to have to go through and rank all of those movies and maybe even watch all of those movies. But
I agree.
At the end of the day, Brett, I think this has been a true wrap-up of the Snyder Cut and your and I's general feelings about the DCEU. We didn't even touch the Dark Knight.
Well, yeah,
but
that's a different universe. But that's definitely
that's a whole lot of feelings there.
Oh yeah, that's another 3 or 4 episodes.
But good-looking people, we appreciate you joining us on this final ride in getting into the DCEU as we know it and love it, and the Snyder Cut. If you want to hear more about this stuff, please let us know, and we'll cover this more, because this is a subject that we can just drop a dime and say, hey, let's talk about this.
That's right. We're always up for this kind of conversation.
Exactly. And if you want to hear more from us, go to all the places that say Dads Meet World, and we'll be there.
Let's see. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter /X at Dads Meet World, YouTube Dads Meet World at Dads Meet World, and Gmail dadsmeetworld@gmail.com. We'll respond. We'll chat.
Yeah. Brett, hit that music.